Well,
yeah, starting 1 minute.
Good morning, everyone. Greeting from Computer Science Engineering from Saintgits College of Engineering. I welcome you all for the AICT sponsor 6-day STTP on blockchain applications. We are in the 5th day of our STTP blockchain applications. Today we have 3 speakers. First sessions on blockchain standardization by Mr. Miguel Garcia. And second sessions will be handled by Mr. Stanley Johnson. He'll be taking a topic on smartness of smart contract. And final session will be a Hyperledger demonstration by Mr. Santosh K. Thomas. I find immense pleasures and great honor to introducing the distinguished speaker of this session, Mr. Miguel Garcia Mendez. He is a CPO, Chief Process and Risk Compliance Officer at Alastria Blockchain Ecosystems. He is having more than 25 years of experience in industries and attained various headed positions. He bundled with quite numbers of certifications like Control Objective for Information and Related Technology, shortly called as a COBIT, implementation certificates, and certified in the governance of enterprise IT, COBIT Assessor Certificate, and COBIT Foundation Certificates, and COBIT Implementation Approved Trainer. He is a seasonal professional. He spent more than 25 years of experience in fostering organizations, innovations, and growth through the technology. At the same time, and as a promoters of concepts in digital fragility, and he's also helped some of the organization to mitigate the effect of such fragilities on all the growth. So, and his major area of interest and skill sets are market research, market analysis, leadership, and corporate governance. Mr. Miguel Garcia Mendez has completed his bachelor and master degree in computer science from University of Oviedo and executive educations and program for management improvement from IESC Business School. We are really honored to have Mr. Miguel Garcia as a keynote speaker of this AICT sponsor program. For this session is going to deliver an interesting sessions on blockchain standardization. If you take a standardization, it is playing a vital role in computer science. So like we already studied many standardization like ISO, OSI, many standards. So in that, blockchain also using in many applications like health, medical, bank, and everywhere it is using. So standardization play a vital role. So he's going to give introduction on that. So now I'm handling over a session to Mr. Miguel Garcia. The screen is all to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jaya Krishnam. It's my pleasure to be today with you here. Thanks for having me. Special thanks for Dr. Jubilant that was the guilty of having me today here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and let me share my screen. Can I share my screen?
You can please try for sharing. It's already, you are the co-host and you can do it.
Okay.
You can use that option, share screen, that green one.
Now, okay. Thank you very much. Well, I have some slides to share with you. Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. Again, thanks to Saintgits for having me here today. A special thanks again to Dr. Jubilant. And as has been announced, I going to talk a little bit at least about standardization, but let me give you or share with you a whole picture about Alastria and the things that we have been done in the blockchain and DLT space in the last 3 years. Let's start. And this title for my presentation, Applications and Other Achievements of a Blockchain Ecosystem. Alastria, in fact, is an association, is an ecosystem. I will explain it in more detail. You can find more information at our webpage, alastria.io. And let me start saying that Alastria was established in 2017, 3 years ago. Just now is turning, or has just turned 3 years old. The organization was established in September that year. This is a headline of the presentation ceremony, in which you can see a picture. The woman in the picture is our current chairwoman. Then she was our vice chairwoman, Mrs. Maria Parga, and they wanted to build this organization maybe for a set of reasons, like the ones you can see on my screen. The need and the will, but maybe the need to build a blockchain community was in the very reason, in the very core reasons of the building of Alastria. Also the special nature, the special spirit of this community being a multi-sectorial one. The opportunity to introduce also the principle of competitiveness or the concept of competition, co-opetition, sorry, the universal nature of the network that they wanted to build. In fact, the actual name of Alastria is Consorcio Red Alastria, in English, something like Alastria Network Consortium. And of course, the last but not least, the legal validity of every action, every activity performed on the Alastria network. This was a key issue, having an infrastructure in the country that were compliant not only with Spanish regulation or legality, but even with the European one. In fact, Alastria was established as a countrywide organization, but with a very intense international spirit, as I will explain later on. Well, the thing is that regarding internationalization, international recognition was present in the earliest stage of the organization. For example, this is just a couple of examples. For instance, the reports made by University of Cambridge Center of Alternative Finance, both in 2018 and in 2019, mention Alastria and compare Alastria 2 years ago with other platforms like maybe absolutely recognized like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and someone others. Also, the internet site 101 Blockchains mentioned Alastria a couple of years ago as one of the members of the Quorum ecosystem, along with hotels, Block1, IQ Quorum, Fogchain, etc., as you can see also in my screen. And defined Alastria as a multi-sector Spanish consortium. I said that originally the focus was Spain, but now is really an international spirit, the one that impulse Alastria and Alastria's actions currently today. But let me explain in more detail what Alastria is. I like usually to say that Alastria actually is not only one thing, but three different things. When we talk about Alastria, we can be meaning the Alastria ID, the Alastria networks, or the association itself. So let us start with the first of these three concepts, Alastria ID, which in fact was the first application or the first use case that the Alastria founders planned in his work program 3 years ago. Well, the Alastria ID model is based on a self-sovereign identity approach based on verifiable credentials. And more or less, it involves three kinds of roles, as you can see in my slide. The subject, which is the central role in this approach, is a user-centric approach. The subject that need to manage their credentials. In this sense, he asks for credentials to issuers. For example, one of the credentials could be an academic diploma. So I ask for it to my university, for instance, and maybe I need to present this diploma if I want to apply for a job or something like that. So we must present the credential before a relying party or service provider. The base for this credential management or credentialing management is the distributed ledger, in our case mainly a blockchain, in which we try to register any action, any transaction performed among these different actors. Well, not to enter today in a detailed explanation of self-sovereign identity and self-sovereign identity concepts, let me say that actually Alastria was working in both different fronts, or with two different equipments or teams, sorry. One of them was a more technical one, and they were in charge of building a kind of minimum viable product, MVP, with the development of Alastria ID APIs, the software under the Alastria ID solution. And also they have built a wallet similar to the one the slide is showing you now. But at the same time, they built a very interesting thing that was a technical specification. Sorry, some of the texts are in Spanish. My apologies for that. They specified a technical model describing the Alastria ID platform they have built. So during 2017, 2018 mainly, the identity team and standardization team of Alastria in these committees, they built a document describing the centralized identity model in which Alastria ID was based. This was a very interesting thing, because this led us to elevate, in some sense, to take the description, the specification, the technical specification, and take it into UNE. UNE being the Spanish standardization body, in which a committee, SC307, was in charge of building a standard, a Spanish standard, based or inspired in the Alastria ID approach. This standard today is about to be released. We are hoping to have the test published by the end of this year, maybe in December. Now is about to be released in the official Gazette in Spain, in order to open an information period to receive comments and contributions or corrections, etc., comments on possible errors, etc., to the text. And finally, as I have said, the text will be released as a Spanish standard by the end of this year. In parallel, I have taken also the model, the text of this Spanish standard to the European level by means of CEN, the European Standardization Commission, in which we are trying also to build a European standard based again in the Spanish standard that was based, as I have said, in the Alastria ID. The group at Sensenelec at the European level was established, as you can see, in February this year. There has been a couple of meetings so far, more or less, and one of the decisions in these preliminary meetings has been the establishment of a specific working group to deal with decentralized identity and decentralized identity standardization, following the proposal we present in Brussels in February. Sorry, in February this year. This gives me also the opportunity to show you a kind of reminder of different standardization bodies or different standardization of organizations in which we at Alastria are actively present. Let me start by the domestic one, by the Spanish one, UNE. I have stick the logo of the BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, in order to help you understand the meaning of UNE, the Spanish standardization body. And at the European level, we are present in Sensenelec, as I have commented a couple of minutes ago, and also in the ETSI, which is the standardization body for the telecommunications domain, and in the international domain, as you know, is ISO, the International Standardization Organization, ISO IEC, the corresponding electrotechnical also committee or commission. And in the telecommunications domain, we have the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, the United Nations Agency for Telecommunications and Standardization in this area. All of these bodies are today working on the standardization of DLTs, decentralized ledger technologies and blockchain. And we at Alastria are actively present, and let me highlight actively present in all of them. Let's review some of the works done in these groups. Starting with the domestic one, UNE, we have established a couple of years ago, more or less, the 307 subcommittee, which is a mirror committee of ISO, dealing with blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, as you can see. In all the slides I have written in this yellow line the URL, the link to access these pages. So when I send my presentation to Dr. Jubilant, you will be able to try these links or to access these links or as you want. Well, from UNE, the only deliverable today is the PNE 71307, the draft Spanish standard, as I have explained, to be released this year. Following with CEN-CENELEC, the European bodies, let me say that they established a specific focus group on blockchain and distributed layer technologies in 2017. From this working group, the result was this report, known as the CEN-CENELEC white paper on blockchain. The official title is the one you can see on the screen: Recommendations for Successful Adoption in Europe of Emerging Technical Standards on Distributed Ledger Blockchain Technologies. That is now, the report was released in a couple of years now, in October 2018, and is now under review. So we will have news in the following months, I hope. After this first effort by CEN-CENELEC this year, as I have said a few minutes ago, this year they decided to follow or keep exploring the standardization domain of blockchain, and they decided to establish a new joint technical committee, JTC 19, a joint committee between CEN and CENELEC, again dealing with blockchain and distributed layer technologies. Is a very new working group, and there are no deliverables yet released. Again, you have here at the bottom of the slide the URL to access these web pages. If we go to ISO level, ISO also in 2017, I think 2017 was a kind of a special year because most of these standardization initiatives started in 2017. So this was the case again of ISO. ISO established Technical Committee 307, as you can see, is the same name as in the Spanish subcommittee 307. Again, dealing with blockchain and distributed layer technologies. Today, this group is a relevant one, is a big one with a series of working groups. I will show you the working groups now. But from this technical committee, we have a series of first deliverables released. The ones you can see in this slide. ISO 22739 regarding vocabulary. ISO TR is a technical report 23244 regarding data protection, privacy, and personally identifiable information protection considerations when you deal with blockchain and DLTs. And the last released, the last one, the last release deliverable from this technical committee is technical report 23455 or 455, which refers to an overview, or which provides an overview of and interactions between smart contracts in blockchain and distributed layer technology systems. This stuff from ISO is not for free. You can access ISO's web pages and you can pay for them. I pointed out this because the case of ISO is this, but In the case of Etsy or in the case of ITU, etc., all the stuff, all the deliverables that has been released are downloadable for free, which is a very interesting issue in my view. Well, regarding the structure of the ISO TC 307 committee, as I have announced, it has a series of working groups or subgroups. The most relevant ones maybe are the ones that appear in the bottom of the list. For example, Working Group 1, Foundations, Working Group 2, Security, Privacy and Identity, Working Group 3, Smart Contracts, the one corresponding to governance, the one corresponding to use cases. There is also a group, a special group, number 7, dealing with interoperability of blockchain and DLT systems, which is a very, very relevant issue, of course, given the number of technologies that are arising or that have arisen in the past years. And let me mention two joint working group 4, which is a kind of common effort by ISO TC 307, the technical committee in charge of blockchain, and is ISO SC 27, the one in charge of information security, cyber security, and these kind of things. In this joint working group 4, the focus is on blockchain, DLT, and IT security techniques. And is a working group very relevant for us, for Alastria, because we are actively involved here. One of my colleagues, Dr. Nacho Alamillo, is leading a couple of deliverables here in this working group. If we move now to the telecommunications domain, I have mentioned ETSI, the European Institute, and ITU, the International Agency. Starting with ETSI, let me say that they established also 1.5 years ago a specific group for dealing with PDL standardization, with blockchain standardization, in this case focused on PDL, permissioned distributed ledger, and they have released a couple of documents so far. The first one, as you can see here in this new slide, standard PDL 001 and standard PDL 005 regarding landscape of standards and technologies in the first case, and regarding proof of concepts framework in the second case. At the same time, we are also present in ETSI, in this European Telecommunication Standardization Institute, in a working group that you have now on the screen, which is the E4P. E4P stands for Europe for Privacy Preserving Pandemic Protection, is the group that deals with the coronavirus contact tracing apps, the COVID-19 contact tracing apps. We are also very involved here. In this case, I have the honor to be vice chairman of this working group, and the focus is not exactly on blockchain in this case, but in the centralization versus decentralization paradigms that are under this kind of application. So given that Alastria is an organization promoting the decentralized technologies, we thought that it was interesting to be involved also in this working group, or in this industry specification group, in the name that ETSI used for its working groups. And finally, regarding standardization, ITU also deserves to be mentioned. They established a focus group on application of distributed ledger technology, as you can see, also in May 2017, and they have released, or they released last year in August the 1st, 2019, a collection of very relevant deliverables, as you can see here in this screen, some technical specifications, some technical reports regarding terms and definitions, regarding the overall ecosystem of DLT realm, regarding the standardization landscape, regarding use cases, reference architecture, regulatory framework, etc. All this material that you can access in this link I'm showing you in the bottom of the slide are free to download. So I deeply recommend you to access these ITU pages and download and read, of course, these deliverables, very interesting ones. Currently, ITU has closed this focus group, but it continues the standardization efforts in the blockchain and DLT domain through a different working groups or partially working groups, for example, a group dedicated to multimedia and different ones that today are incorporating, also are including the blockchain standardization. But I mentioned that there were three Alastrias. The second one is the one referring to the network or networks, actually. Let me say, or let me start saying that we at Alastria choose a kind of hybrid approach in the centralized versus decentralized paradigm, in the sense that our networks are public permission network. Yeah, they are not public networks as Bitcoin or Ethereum, etc. They are not exactly centralized ones. They are public but permission network. Well, today our main network, we call it the T network, is a network with more than 100, maybe 150 or almost 150 nodes. It's based on Ethereum quorum technology, as I will comment in a couple of minutes. And actually is not, despite being named the Alastria network, we usually like to say that they are not the networks of Alastria, but the networks of Alastria's membership. Why I said this? Because the concept under the efforts made in Alastria is co-opetition. I mentioned that competition was one of the very reasons for building Alastria, for establishing Alastria. And actually, the principle of co-opetition is absolutely present in all our actions, all our activities, in the following sense. The infrastructures, Alastria's infrastructures or Alastria's networks are built in a collaborative way by the different members of our ecosystem, which is the thing that tries to represent the bottom side of this slide. In the upper side of the slide, we have the competition space, or the competitive space in which the different members of our ecosystem compete in the sense that each one has its own solutions or its own applications, etc. So they collaborate to build the infrastructure, and they compete in the applications space, in the smart contract space, for example. Well, I mentioned that we have not a network, but several networks, several infrastructures. They are based in different technologies. The oldest one now is based in Ethereum Quorum. The second one is based in Hyperledger Besu, which in fact is also based in Ethereum technology. And the third one is based in Hyperledger Fabric. The most developed ones are the two first, the Ethereum Quorum and Hyperledger Besu. As you sure know, JP Morgan, the bank JP Morgan, that was the creator of Quorum, has hand over the Quorum platform, the Quorum approach to the company consensus. So it's more than possible that the Quorum, Ethereum Quorum, and Hyperledger Besu will converge in the following maybe months or in the following times. Another relevant issue about the bid we are doing for Hyperledger Besu is that the European Commission is building its own network, its own blockchain network, European-wide one, based in Hyperledger Besu technology. So for us, it's very interesting to have or having a Hyperledger Besu infrastructure with the possibility to connect it or to merge it in some sense to the European official one called EBSI, European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, that the European Commission is building now. Apart from that, I will talk to you about in some minutes about LACchain, which is a different initiative inspired in some sense also in Alastria, that is being hidden by the Inter-American Development Bank, and is a network covering the Latin American space, and is based also in Besu technology, and therefore again our interest to build a Besu network also in order to be connected, to be merged with the Latin American one. Well, a different view of these different technology layers. You can see at the bottom of the picture the different networks, the Quorum one, the Hyperledger Besu, and the Hyperledger Fabric. Above them, we have built the identity interoperability layer, and we are now trying to build an interoperability module in order to be able to merge these different technologies. Of course, in the upper layer are the applications made by our membership, as I have pointed out a couple of minutes ago. Well, just a couple of technical aspects. If you want to explore the status of our T network, Red T in Spanish, you can use this URL, this link, netstats, and you can see the T network status. And if you want to explore specific transactions, you can use also Block Explorer over the T network in order to see, to explore the transactions that are being registered in the blockchain. Of course, if you are maybe more techy than myself, and you want to, should you want to know more, you can access Alastria's GitHub page, in which you can find information about the configuration of nodes in the T network, in the Besu network, in the Fabric network, information about the Alastria identity, etc. The benefits of these networks, because you can be asking why these guys, these Spanish guys, wanted to build a network when they have, for example, Ethereum. Well, the benefit or the reason for do that was providing the idea to provide a zero gas cost network, a network in which you do not require to buy gas to transact or to deploy. The only maybe cost is the association fee, the annual fee. No cost in the software domain, also because we are using open source code. And another maybe advantage of benefit of Alastria is that it is one recognized infrastructure. In fact, ITU has included the Alastria among the 14 DLT they recognize in his deliverables, the ones I mentioned before. Apart from that, of course, the support given by the technical teams under the building of these different networks that I have mentioned is also a very good initiative for those who join the infrastructures of Alastria. And finally, let me talk about the association as itself. As I have said, the organization was established 3 years ago now. Currently, we have some 600 members, maybe not 600, but almost 600, more than 550 members today, from a very varied set of origins. I mean, from different sizes. We have big companies, we have public sector institutions, we have also many universities. For example, we have SMEs, small and medium enterprises. Most of them are startups in the blockchain domain, etc. I think I have a slide, yes, here, with the groups of members that we currently have. For example, accelerators and venture builders, insurance companies, automotive, transportation, logistics, banking, blockchain companies, as I have said, consultancy firms, strategy consulting firms, education, universities, for example, entities from the energy sector, from the legal sector. The legal sector is a very relevant one in Alastria. In fact, we have a specific committee for legal issues, the legal committee of Alastria, in which the most relevant law firms from Spain are present, and most of them international firms with operations not only in Spain, but in Europe, in the US, or in Latin America. They are very involved in the legal aspects of Alastria and Alastria's infrastructures. They recently has released a publication, a magazine called Alastria Legal. In summary, they are a very active group within Alastria, within the Alastria ecosystem. Apart from that, we have also companies from the media, from industry, from retail, telecommunications, tourism, etc. Also, the structure of Alastria is decentralized. We choose the decentralized model following the philosophy, the spirit of the technologies we try to promote, the decentralized technologies. So we are based in Madrid, but we have local chapters that we call ecosystems or local ecosystems in different regions in Spain. And now we are starting to have also some presence in different European countries like Hungary or like Italy or like Germany and so on. Apart from the decentralized approach of these different ecosystems, some of them are bind to what we call sectors like the agri-food sea sector or the agri-food earth or healthcare and pharma sector or environment sector and so on. Apart from that, we have sectorial forums also in communication, for example, not telecommunications, but in communication, media, and these kind of things. We have also a sectorial forum for cybersecurity, etc. So not only we have vertically thematic sectorial, so sectors, but also horizontal ones like cybersecurity, for example, as I have just mentioned. And at the end, all of this effort has a reason that is the applications and the use cases. Sorry for this slide, is in Spanish, but it's just an example for you to see the number of different applications that we have deployed. Let me say that Alastria, as a kind of open organization, has no control and has no knowledge about the applications, the use cases that its membership is deploying in the Alastria infrastructures, on the Alastria infrastructure, but some of them has let us know it, or in other cases, they have been published in the news. So this is a kind of summary of almost 50, half a 100 use cases now currently in Alastria. I have, this is the second part of the list. In summary, most of them has to do with notarization approaches. The second most relevant group could be the traceability apps group. We have also several initiatives regarding the identity and taking advantage of the Alastria identity approach. And there is also a fourth relevant group regarding tokenization. Not exactly, or not with crypto tokenization, but tokenization in general. Maybe apart from the cryptocurrency space. Now I have included a series of pages. They are in Spanish, so let me skip them. They describe the use cases. I will try to translate it into English in order to send the presentation to Dr. Jubilant. But anyway, let me explore briefly some of them in order to show you the kind of use cases, the kind of applications we have within Alastria. For example, let me translate for you. We have use cases regarding or related to the digital identity, as I have mentioned before. We have also some use cases in the transportation and logistics space. We have also some cases regarding real estate, human resources, Healthcare is another area in which there are some use cases deployed in the Alastria's network. Legal, as I have pointed out, is other interesting and relevant domain of solutions currently running on Alastria's networks. Finance and banking is a different group. Agri-food or veterinary services also has some room in the set of applications deployed in our networks. Intellectual property, education, in particular, could be of interest for you. Smart degrees or Diplom E that are kind of notarization solutions and certification solutions of academic diplomas. In invoicing is another group of solutions that are present now in our networks. Citizen participation or citizen policies are also one of the solutions we have. Marketing, retail, and non-governmental organizations, also voluntary organizations, are also present with some solution in the Alastria network, in the Alastria's network. And also sustainability is present in our set of solutions, set of use cases too. And just for finishing, let me explore just a little bit the international spirit that I mentioned Alastria has. Initially a countrywide Spanish initiative, but today an international one, given that we try to be in very contact with LACChain, the IDB, International Development Bank initiative that is building a kind of infrastructure similar to the Alastria's one in Latin America and the Caribbean region. LACChain is inspired by Alastria, as they said in every presentation they made. And Alastria, in fact, is a founding partner of LACChain along with IDB and a set of different actors, which in fact give us visibility in the Latin American space, as you can imagine. There is another initiative, Blockchains. Blockchains is a project funded by the European Commission that tries to involve European startup working in the DLT space, and in order to give them some funding to keep exploring their developments and so on. And some of our new members, we are involved in these blockchain projects, and some of the actors involved in the project and some of the startups that has participated in this project are now members of part of our membership, part of Alastria's membership. They are from different countries in Europe. So there are a kind of focus, a European focus in the Alastria spirit too. And finally, or sorry, not finally, apart from that, we have a European association, maybe you know it, is INATBA. Alastria is one of the founding members again of INATBA. There are very many similarities in some sense. Maybe the most relevant difference is that INATBA has no infrastructure. It's an association, but with no infrastructure, as in the case of Alastria, and we are very active also in ADVA working groups, and we collaborate very closely with them, which in fact reinforce our presence in the European space. To the point that last year we held here in Spain the first World Congress on blockchain and DLT, along with INADVA, with the European Commission, and with the European Union Blockchain Observatory and Forum. The fourth entities, Alastria and the remaining three, organized the World Congress called Convergence, a congress that was able to join together more than 1,500 people from around the world, some of them from India, by the way, here in Spain, enjoying this couple of days or 3 days of blockchain discussion and blockchain conversation and so on, which in fact gave us a worldwide visibility, and is the kind of visibility we want to keep today. Just to finish, a couple of references about all this history of Alastria that is now written, and is now written in 2 books. The first one has been released this year in April. It has been written in Spanish, as you can see, Consorcio Red Alastria, Alastria Network Consortium. But the second one, Alastria Mission and Vision, that has been released just a few days ago, last week or a couple of weeks ago, is again a almost 300 pages book, summarizing in some sense the story of Alastria. Both of them summarize the story of Alastria and include a series of topics from the legal perspective, from the governance perspective, from the technical perspective, etc. And this second one is written in English. So I invite you to take a look at these 2 books, especially the one written in English. And I think that's all. Yes, this all the material, the stuff I had prepared for the presentation today. So thank you again. Thank you so much for your attention, for your interest, and of course, if you want to pose any question, please. I try to answer your questions or your requests. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very informative session. I know like the timing is the big issue. Like you have spent 1 hour, you have woke up early morning and you have specially prepared for us. It was really informative. Thank you so much. And we have one question, sir. Like I'll ask you that.
Yeah.
How is it possible to design a public permission blockchain network?
How it's possible? Well, I think the concept of public permission network is a kind of new one. In fact, we think that Alastria introduced the concept a couple of years ago. The concept is now even in ISO deliverables, in some of the draft that ISO is trying to finalize. The governance working group introduced the concept of public permission networks, blockchains, and the why or the how is by providing a kind of a specific governance layer, I think. in the sense that you have freedom to operate on the network, but the only requisite is or prerequisite is requirement is to be allowed to do so. In this case, all the members of the Alastria ecosystem, of course, are allowed to use the infrastructure, but they have complete freedom to use the network, to the point that we have no control at all about the things that they do on the network with their applications and so on.
Thank you, sir. Any participation have any queries?
Sir, I do have one query.
Yes, please.
Sir, I would like to ask, you discussed about the standardization of blockchain. So I was just thinking, what can be the limitations which anyone may face whenever we probably try to standardize the blockchain, because it's quite difficult right now, as it's not having any say standard yet designed yet, and starting from scratch and going for the standardization procedure or process. What can be the limitations or the constraints you find which you would have to face, or like the organization who is going to say standardize that blockchain thing would have to face?
Well, I think that trying to standardize a thing that doesn't exist is not easy. In fact, I said that because many people said that blockchain actually doesn't exist. So we that are trying for the last at least 2 years trying to standardize it is a very tough effort. But anyway, the truth is that when you try to build your own networks, maybe there are no standards at the traditional way, the ISO, etc. But you have de facto standards. The Alastria ID is a good example. Now we are about to release a Spanish standard, but so far the companies trying to explore the Alastria ID as a kind of template for building their own developments are using the Alastria ID as a de facto standard. It's not a standard itself, but it's a de facto standard in the sense that it has been adopted by several actors in the market. So it's the way things become de facto standards, in my opinion. Apart from that, of course, the current platforms like Ethereum or like Besu or etc., Bitcoin are in fact de facto standards too.
So we may take it like the individual say organization, or say country wise it will be standardized, or like organization wise it will be standardized, and we cannot do the worldwide standardization of the blockchain probably in near future, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, anyone else have any queries? Okay, thank you so much, sir, for spending your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mughal.
Yeah, you are very welcome.
Okay, sure. Thank you for that.
You're really welcome.
Okay.
Again, my pleasure. And as I said you a few days ago, now I have to leave because I have to take my kids to the school.
Yes, I know. Okay, I know. Okay, please meet you again. Thank you.
My pleasure being
Okay.
with you today.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's great.
Bye.
We'll connect you. Connect you.
Yeah, dear participants, the second sessions will be at 11 o'clock. So we'll be having a session by Mr. Stanley. So just you can have a refreshment. Thank you so much.